say freeze the charm, so let's try that one more time. One more time, here we go. Listen, hearken unto my words and hold your tongues, for I have one more tale to tell. And this is a sad tale to start off with, but you can tell how sad it is, like right there. This is the story of a poor peasant, a horny-handed son of toil, who broke his back upon the land, while his younger brother, he lived a life of ease. For the two boys' parents, well, they had found favour in the younger son. He was the apple of their eye. You see what I did there? And so it was they spoilt the lad, giving him all, if not more, than they could afford, leaving all or nearly all the land to him, their large estates, when they were dead and gone, only leaving his older brother, the poor peasant, one all but barren piece of land. It was one small field covered in sharp, craggy rocks, with just 3 apple trees in one corner. Not much really, but still an orchard when he found time to fence and gate it off. But still he had to pay his younger brother rent every Christmas Eve. Well, the poor peasant, he bore his ill rule, or rather his ill favour, with fortitude and patience. He worked hard, clearing away the rocks, digging and hoeing and weeding that piece of land, so that things began to grow. And when he wasn't doing that, he was caring for his 2 beasts of burden. For the only other thing his parents had left him was an ancient, skinny, skeletal donkey and an ox that was older and more scrawny still. But every day, early, without fail, the poor peasant, he would go abroad, he would cut the fresh green grass from the verges, he would cut the lush green grass from the churchyard to feed to his animals. He would treat their sores and wounds with herbs, and as he was rubbing them in, he would speak the words that of all that he lost to time. And over time, over the year, the 2 beasts began to thrive, especially when he turned them out into his tiny orchard, where now the ox and the donkey, they fed upon the lush green grass of the orchard, but gave back with their dung, feeding the earth. And so it was, the apple trees, they began to thrive, and for the first time ever, that harvest they produced apples, big, red and rosy, bigger than my fist, I kid you not. They were that big and bigger still. But now it was winter again. The harvest was at an end. Once again, old man Winter, he wrapped himself around the land like an icy cloak. His long, bitter fingers reached inside one and all, poking and prodding at their resolve. It was time for the poor peasant to find the rent to pay his brother, the spoilt lad, upon Christmas Eve. Well, no, his coddlekin, the boy, he was living a life of ease. But he had also grown to become a rich and wealthy young man. But it is the nature of many a rich man, sad to say, that they'll never be rich enough. And so it was with him. And so early on Christmas Eve, the spoilt, greedy young man, he found his way to the poor cottage of our poor peasant, beating upon the door, demanding his rent, but also more. For no sooner had he taken those few meagre coins in his greedy, grasping grip, then he said to the poor peasant, he said, listen, I've heard tell from the wise old folk who live around here, for it's well known that old folk are quite wise in their way. He said, I've heard tell that Christmas Eve is a time of miracles, and at the stroke of midnight, the beasts do talk, and they know things that we do not. And I've heard tell from the old folk who live nearby, he said, that there is treasure buried nearby. And so, you brother, you come to my big house, you can't miss it, it's a stone one over there. You knock me up just before midnight on Christmas Eve so that I can hear your ox and your donkey talk, and they'll tell me where the treasure is hidden. All right? Well, the poor peasant had no choice but to agree, upon pain of losing his meagre bit of land. And no sooner had his coddle kin gone than the poor peasant set about his daily work. But it was Christmas Eve, and so this was joyous work. He went out into the woods, he cut holly, he cut ivy, not only just to decorate his own mead abode, but also the shed at the end, where his donkey and his ox did lie. And when that was done, he took the last of his cider from that year, and he mulled it in a cup in the ashes of his fire. And when it was good and hot, only then did he go to wassail his own 3 trees. Kneeling in front of the roots of the oldest tree, he cast it down and he spoke the words. He said, apple tree, what you have gifted unto me, I give back unto thee. And just as old Sir Cleege had done long ago, he knelt his head in silent prayer. But the old tree began to creak. The old tree began to groan, which is not that strange during winter storms, but there was no storm, and now the old tree began to chuckle. It laughed long, aloud and lustily. I say the tree, but was it the old man sitting in its branches? It was difficult to tell, for it was difficult to see where the tree ended and the old man began. For the old man sitting in the bent bough of the tree, well, his lanky long limbs, his arms, his legs, his fingers, his toes were as gnarled and as twisted as the branches and twigs that he sat upon. And now he smiled a smile, looking down at the poor peasant, and he said, hello, I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting for you all year. I've been watching you work hard upon this land, and so I'm going to reward you with that fine cider you poured upon my roots. And pointing down, he said, listen, if you dig just down there between my roots, you will find treasure, a great big chest of treasure. Dig it up, take it home, and whatever you do not tell your brother. He nodded, he winked, and he disappeared back into the tree. One no sooner had the apple tree man gone, for that's who it was, of course. And our poor peasant, he went and fetched a spade. He dug and he dug and he dug and he dug. He dug and he dug and he dug and he dug. He dug and he dug and he dug. What did he do? He dug. Of course he did. He wasn't going to have a rest, was he? Who would rest when they were digging for treasure? He dug down deep until the spade struck something hard. He jumped in the hole. He cleared away the earth. There was a box. He heaved the wooden box out of the hole. He brought down the spade hard upon the old iron lock, and slowly, very slowly, he lifted the lid. Now I'm going to let you into a secret. Although I've been telling stories for many years now, I've never perfected the art of the creaky lid. You know what must be done. And if this doesn't scare away the bad spirits, nothing will. After 3, 1, 2, 3. Keep going, it's a big lid. It's a really big lid. What we call in Norfolk a right old huge lid. The lid creaked open. The poor peasant looked down and his eyes went ba-doing, doing, doing, and back again. For what was in the box?
Apple.
Treasure.
Nothing.
Seed.
We've had nothing, we've had apples, we've had treasure. Do you know what? Let's go with the last. What was in the box?
Treasure.
What was in the box?
Gold.
The poor peasant was now as rich can be. And you know what? You can't get much richer than that. He dragged that great chest home, dreaming of the roaring fires he would enjoy that Christmas, dreaming of a Christmas feast, for he dreamt of swan pie, heron pie, he even dreamt of pickled pike. Has anyone here ever eaten pickled pike at Christmas?
No, I've eaten pike, but
Really
I've not pickled.
And no sooner had he hid that chest than he remembered his brother. Quickly he went to the big posh house, he woke his brother, he spoilt him just in time. For now, the church clock was striking 12 as that spoilt boy, he snuck up behind the door of the shed and listened to the donkey and the ox. And it seems that old folk were wise after all, for now at the stroke of midnight, the donkey began to speak. And he said to the ox, he said, here, you know that horrible lad, that unmannerly fiend who's listening behind the door, listening to conversations that not are his to listen to? Well, yeah, he's come to hear where the treasure is hidden. And the ox said, I know, but he won't find it because someone has dug it up already. And there, that story ends.